Often wants the permission.
He does.
The record. Slot loaded for the.
They put. We're not on yet, right?
What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome to Not Your Status Quo. Today, we are talking The Penguin, episode 2, not 3, like my typo, The Inside or Inside Man. But before we get into all of that fun, Dave, how's it going, sir?
Well, it's fan freaking tastic, but maybe we wanted to let everybody know where Doug is first.
Who?
Doug?
Oh, yeah.
Our third nerd.
I thought you said Sharon.
Sharon Peters? Sharon. Doug? Well, what is Doug doing? I already forgot.
He is busy writing Death Note 3.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, we just spoiled it. Doug is the actual secret author of Death Note. He completed his work on Death Note 2, and he's busy writing Death Note 3. It should be coming out fall of 2031. So
and believe it or not, it's a musical.
Everyone be on the lookout for that. But you don't do that with your mouth.
Why? It looks just like you. So that's where Doug is. Me. Hey, buddy. I'm fan freaking tastic. Can't wait to talk another episode of this show. I got my
Buddy, we're trying to stream.
Okay. Bye, guys. Have a good.
I got my all right. Got my car's up and running. It's purring like a kitten. I had a really good day driving today, so and of course, if now Doug won't be here to object to us talking sports ball for a few moments. And my Bears won yesterday. Yeah, you might. My Bears won yesterday, and my White Sox won yesterday, beating the Tigers. But I don't think the Tigers had any starters in there because they're playing start their playoffs tomorrow, which is, hey, good for them. I'm not a big Tigers fan, but good for them. It's been a long time. What? 12 years since they even sniffed the playoffs?
2014. So I think it's been 10 years.
Yeah, it's been a while. I mean,
all the Detroit teams have kind of been, outside of the Lions, have been kind of struggling to make the playoffs. Pistons may never make it again. The Red Wings almost made it last year. Hopefully this year. Yeah, and the Tigers, it's been like 10 years.
Yeah, when they turned it on after Baez got hurt, and that changed everything. Oh. That's true.
Yeah, and Sierra says Doug must be tending to the real Dave and Keith in the basement. That would be true, but he doesn't tend to the real Dave and Keith in the basement. He's neglectful.
That's right. Just when he sees the lifeline going down on his watch, that's when he makes an appearance. Well, Anyway, so Keith, how are you doing?
Dave, I'm tremendous. Such a treat. Was able to watch the new episode last night. And man, we're going to talk about it, but it's such a joy. Everything's falling into place. Things are going strong. We get to go see another DC movie. Oh. Probably
it is a DC movie.
Probably not going to be as good. I've got a feeling that the Joker movie will not be nearly as good as the Penguin series.
Oh, that is a rather high bar, my friend. And I don't know. The fact that it's a musical has me turned off because it's like, well, they know their demographic. They know that I know they got Lady Gaga in there. That's probably why they made it a musical, because she can sing. But it's like, they know their demographic. They know the people who read the comic books. And to me, do those people tend to like musicals? They probably don't. So
I think maybe some, but I think it's a smaller portion of people.
Yeah, I mean, we could do this all day. I mean, that's why I'm a little worried about the quality and how good it's going to be. But I guess we'll see on Thursday.
And you guys will all know too, because right when we're out, we will get our initial reactions and a little segment we call At the Theater, spoiler-free reviews with the Gen Xers of Not Your Status Quo, not boomers.
Yeah, we're not boomers. not even close to boomers. We're at least 5, 6 years off from being boomers.
But let's talk episode 2, Inside Man. I mean, I don't think I can sing this show enough praise. It is so well written, so well acted. Score is fantastic. There's nothing I can say bad about this show.
The makeup is incredible. You would never know. I marvel. That's funny. I can't say I DC at it every time, but I marvel at it every time that I see Colin Farrell as the Penguin. You cannot tell his voice, his face, nothing. He's an incredible actor, and they did an incredible makeup.
Even the way he walks and stuff. I mean, no one could guess. If you did not know it was Colin Farrell, I don't see anyone on this planet, even like his family, could guess it was him. Just so good.
Yeah. He's doing such a good job. And this show was, to me, I texted it to Keith earlier today. You know how much we love Andor on this channel, Star Wars Andor. To me, this is the top. I mean, I got my Smallville, which will probably never fall off. And then, like, Daredevil Season 3 was amazing. And then there's this show. And this show, after only 2 episodes, I would put it up that high. It's been an incredible 2 episodes so far. Their character development, their plot development, I mean, it's not going slow. It's going the right pace, whether they have action every minute or not. And they're showing every step of that. You know, the Penguin in Gotham, he rules the underworld. Or I don't like to call it that. He rules. You know, he's the guy in charge. How did he get there? Let's watch. And he's doing a great job. He's putting the big families against each other. This is a great story. I don't know. I mean, I don't know who the writer is off the top of my head, but amazing job. Bravo.
You know, he is walking a very dangerous line. You know, we talked about it last week in this show. You know, he goes back to see Sal Maroni, you know, and he's like, "You set me up." And he goes, "I got you back in. People are talking about you again." And he knows, you know, how to get these people involved and motivated, you know, and being able to steal, you know, helping them set up that, you know, steal all of those drops from them, brought the Maroni family back in. So many things going on, and just the way he handles every situation, it's great. The best part about this is he has plans, and when they go awry, he's fast enough on his feet to change it for him in his favor. And that's what I like about the show. He's not just, I have a great plan and everything goes perfectly. Things go off the rails constantly, and he thinks on his feet and switches it up. You know, we saw, like, when he knew they had somebody in the basement and he couldn't get to him, and he went up, "Hey, you guys putting guys in the basement, not telling everybody? Or what's going on with that?" And they're like, "We don't have anyone in the basement. Let's go check it out." You know, and kind of blew up what Sophia had going on, trying to figure out who the inside man is in the family. And even like on the heist, when what's his name, Johnny, comes in and says, "Oh, you're gonna ride that, not that other," and he's like, "Oh man, I told him to kill everybody on there," you know. But he finds a way to figure it out. You know, he busts out, he lets them know who it is, he kills some of the guys, saves some of the Falcone family, saves some of the Maroni family. So he's playing both sides perfectly at this point, and it's just so much fun to watch.
Yeah, I didn't think. I mean, the way Sophia hasn't trusted him at all for this show, and by the end of this show, do you think she really trusts him, or do you think that she's just seeing what he's got going on?
I don't think she trusts him at all, but I think she has no one else to go to at this point. She knows that he is probably a little power hungry, and she wants to use him because, you know, the way the crime families in Gotham work, it's no place for a woman. You know, it's like, why don't you go to Italy and take a breather? You know, it's too dangerous for you here and stuff. And obviously a huge mistake on their part, because she has a very sharp mind, and it's going to be.
It's not going to end well for them.
No. It's going to be nice seeing her and Oswald team up, and then eventually have to turn on each other. It's almost like, you know, those game shows where they, like Survivor, where they form alliances and they take everyone out, and then they turn on each other, and you see how it goes. That's what this is kind of going to be like, and it's going to be good.
Yeah.
And just him walking up and be like, I know Doug put it on the title card. Let's dance.
Let's dance.
It's like, it's going to get even crazier from here. I can't say, it's going to get crazy now, because it has been just, it's not action-packed, but just, talking, and him talking his way out of things. I loved the way he handled the situation. Hey, they grabbed our guy. You got to get him out. Why didn't you warn us? And he's like, what he had planned to show the boss of the Falcone family about what's his name, he shows it to them to save his life. And they're like, okay. And he's like, I'll see what I can do about it. And goes back, and it was great because he's like, okay, you plant this in Johnny's car, and then I'm going to go in and frame him in there, and it's going to be perfect. And then, of course, Penguin blamed him for not being able to put in his car, but did they really think people weren't watching his car? Did he really, Penguin blames him,
right.
But it wasn't the greatest plan to start off with. But then he's good enough to be like, okay, well, you know what? I can't get you out of here. I got to kill you. And then the scene when he slipped a knife into that guy.
Yeah.
And the whole plan, he was like, I can't slip it into Johnny because I wasn't able to plant those diamonds, because he needs those 2 points of information for his plan to be good. But this guy, I can do. So he picks a fight with him when he's breaking it up, slips it in his pocket. And I watched it again because I'm like, how did he do that? And they did such a good job of filming it, because as the guy's pulling him out, you see him take that arm where he put it and like drop it in his pocket. I was like, oh my God. And then, of course, had the jewels planted at his house. So after they kill him, they go there. Sophia finds the jewels. He's like, he was playing us. I can't believe it. Can't believe it, Oz. I do think, though, she kind of still suspects him just a little bit, because, he's sketchy. He's always, kind of, I don't want to say making mistakes, but like when he said he didn't know she was behind him in the first episode, he's like, there's this new thing coming into town. I'll, bring you guys in that. It's going to be, huge. We can forget about drops. And she's like, that was me and my brothers. How do you know about it? And, he must have kept us both in the dark. It's like he knows how mob people think, and he just plays it so well. Just incredible.
Yeah, he's really quick on his feet. And the way he disciplined, I forget that kid's name.
Vic?
Vic. The way he, I don't know, I want to say discipline him, but he's like, all right, you didn't get it done, and that affected everything I was doing, right? Maybe you're not cut out for this life. At least he just scared him. He just wanted to scare him. He didn't want to kill him. But just get in there and lie with those corpses. And that's what it's going to be next time, so don't mess up again. And then he said, all right, let's go get some food or something,
Yeah.
He's putting them on notice that, you can't mess up, because people's, our lives are at stake here. If you want to be with me at the top, then you got to play it right. And if you don't, well, I thought it was a good idea that he got through to him on the phone. If he hadn't, how screwed would he have been?
Oh, yeah. He would have been extremely screwed. Everything would have blown up in his face. So, yeah. No, I think he realizes Vic's usefulness. But he definitely, they really show that the dichotomy of the Penguin in the show very well. Like, he's like, got no other options, just stabs that guy in the heart without thinking twice about it. But then they also show, kind of a softer side. Like, he went, and his mom, he put on a record and was dancing with her because he knew, with the dementia and everything going on. They show that soft side of him, like he can, be very humanized. But then he's also, just a ruthless killer and, quick temper and reckless and all these other things. And that's the best thing about this show. All of the characters have a lot going on, and they're not just paper thin little characters. Like even Sophia, like you saw in that scene when she was talking to her cousin, and when the little girl came up, when she went to talk to her, the cousin was kind of like putting her arm around her, like she's scared of her. And that, much like when, what's his name, the Falcone, was it Alberto? That Penguin shot?
Her brother.
Yeah, when Penguin shot him because he was laughing at him, this was the same thing. Like, she was being nice and cordial. And as soon as she saw her, like, put her arm around her, like, this lady's a killer, she, like, just kind of snapped. And was like, oh, it's dangerous life for, girls in this family or whatever. Very threatening tone. I mean, she went 180 like that just because that lady pissed her off. And I'm like, just when you start to think, okay, this, Sophia's getting her act together, she pulls that, just like, oh man, her and Oz are a match made in chaos, pure, unadulterated chaos, and we get to sit and watch it.
She's just, and I mean, if you're nice to me, I'm gonna be good to you. That's what that scene was saying. Now you pull back, you start pulling crap. All right, I'm gonna see it. I'm not gonna like it. So they were having a nice, pleasant conversation. I bet she wrote her off at that point. She was just like, all right, anything comes up, I don't have any faith in her at all.
Yep. And I assume that's the mob mentality, kind of. I've never been in the mafia, but I've seen enough movies to assume.
I mean, all she had to do was fake that everything was okay for a few seconds there, and she couldn't do it. So, yeah, I can see why she'd get. I mean, she is still a little bit kooky, but I could see how anybody would be annoyed by that. Especially if she's trying to put it all behind her or whatever she did. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and you see, you saw the protesters at her brother's funeral talking about, Hangman needs to go back to jail or stuff, and that's going to have an effect on her too. And it would be hard, I think, for anybody. Like, I'm sure her cousin's not as deep into mafia. Like, when they shot that guy, when the new boss, what's his name, Luca, shot him when she was asking for the gun. Which, man, when that happened too, she's like, give me your gun, give me your gun. She's like, this is mine, I'm taking him out. Luca just shot him. That was so disrespectful to her. I'm like, Luca's not making it too many more episodes, because he has kind of written off both Oswald and Sophia, and they are probably the two most dangerous people around him.
And he doesn't think they are. He thinks they're just foot soldiers. They're nothing.
Yep. And the Penguin, he's said so many times, I make myself small so they can feel big. But he takes note of it, because remember when he was talking to Al, he said, your father knew. He never treated me that way. He knew, and it's like he recognized his potential. And instead of dismissing him, that's what any good leader, any good crime boss, they see the people, they know their strengths, they know their weaknesses, and they, do their best way to motivate them. Whatever motivates them, they use it. And everybody can be different. And a lot of these people now don't understand that, all you got to do is say you're loyal to him, kind of stroke his ego a little bit like he's doing to all of them every chance he gets. He's like, hey, this. And he does the old trick where it's like, well, this is going on. They're like, I know that's going on. And he kind of puts those thoughts in people's head. It's just masterful. And it's amazing to me that this is only going to be like 8 episodes, because they could seriously have 10 seasons of this. This could go on as long as The Sopranos, and I would eat up every episode, as long as the quality stayed good, obviously.
Yeah, with this writing, I could watch this show forever. And the only thing that would suck is, like, how they do your shows these days, where they'll put out 8 episodes, and then 2 years later, maybe they'll put out another 8. That kind of thing I don't like, when it's such a good show. I wish they could, put them out faster. But obviously, this one won't be, what you said, 9 or 8 episodes? This is 8?
8, yep.
And that's all we're getting. So that's really kind of disappointing. But maybe they'll put these other writers on another villain and give him a backstory. I don't know, but these writers are really good.
Well, think about it. They've said this came out because this story was a part of the first Batman movie. And they were like, okay, this is too bloated. We'll cut out the Penguin story. Then they're like, you know what? We have a show here, maybe. Let's have a show that's going to bridge the gap between, the Batman and Batman Part 2 or whatever it's going to be called. Thank God they did, because I'm sure they fleshed it out a little bit more to get, 8 episodes that are seemingly all an hour apiece. But what a good way to handle it, such good world building. Instead of just having 2 movies, 5 years apart or whatever it's going to be, they've got this amazing little limited series that is going to just make the world that much bigger. So, those people who enjoy it, if like one of the Falcones or Maronis, we get to see Clancy Brown in the Batman Part 2, the people who watch it be like, all right, hey, it's Sal Maroni. And other people will be like, oh, it's some mobster. Oh, it's Clancy Brown, sweet. But, man, they did a great job. For another show that it was like, do we really need this? Thank God they made it.
Yeah. I mean, the Batman, the movie that was 3 hours already. I can't imagine them trying to fit the Penguin story in there. And then when they're done with the Penguin, that's going to be 8 hours of storytelling, that it's going to be longer than the movie. They're going to have more, even with the next movie that comes out, they're going to have more Penguin than they are Batman in this series.
Yeah. Could you imagine Matt Reeves turned in the script for the Batman? And they're like, oh, is that for the trilogy? No, it's for the first movie. What the?
Yeah, we're not going to do that. People are going to be staying in the theater for 8 hours.
I would have done it. As long as they kept playing that theme, I would have been mesmerized and just doom, 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 doom.
See, and this is the stuff that happens in the comics that, that goes on in the background. When things happen and, the Batman comes out and he says, well, they've been having a turf war with these two, blah, blah, blah. Instead of just hearing about it, we're actually seeing it now. We're seeing it from the villain side. That's kind of cool. For me, it's kind of hard to put out a movie about a villain that, you can really look at in a positive way. I mean, all right, I don't know. I guess Suicide Squad was kind of villains. But it's not the same as watching an actual hero. You know what I mean? A superhero. It's building their nefarious backgrounds, which is cool, and see, each one of them screwing each other over. There is a protagonist, as in there's a main character of the show, but are you supposed to root for him because they're all bad? So I find myself trying not to root for the Penguin, but I just love seeing, all right, where's this going to go next? What's he going to do next to solidify his spot at the top of Gotham's underground? And when Batman needs him, he can go to him.
I do the exact opposite. I root for him because I want to see him clash with the Batman at some point. I don't want these lowly mobsters to take him out. I want him to be clashing with the Batman. And they did a little scene when he took an umbrella to kind of shield himself from that gunfire at the one point. I'm like, it doesn't work now, but I bet he's got an idea for later.
Right. It's an homage too to the 60s Batman show, and I guess that's where it started, really, right?
Yeah.
That umbrella thing.
And
what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, there is a right way and a wrong way to do a villain-centric show. This is definitely the right way. They're not trying to make him to be some goody-goody. They're not trying to soften his edges. They're showing him as he is. And it'll only make when he shows up in the Batman Part 2, if he does, which nothing's been confirmed yet. I mean, it would be great after getting 8 hours of his rise to power to see, him take on the Batman in some capacity. But they're not softening the edges. They're not doing anything to make him look like a good guy. Different movie studio, Sony, who's trying to make all these villain movies and trying to, I don't know, make them to be anti-heroes now or something, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And they have done a masterclass on this show with writing and everything on how you do it right. Because it's hard to imagine they made a show in the Batman universe without the Batman, and it's this good.
Yeah, because Gotham wasn't this good.
No.
And it's you can feel sympathy for them, because of what they went through, and you can see how they got there. But that doesn't mean you have to view them in a positive light, like Sony's trying to do, with Craven and all them. They don't have to come out as oh, I was really rooting for that guy. I know you were rooting for him, but for a different reason, because you want to see how he got there and everything, and you want him to fight with Batman. And he's still a bad guy, though. You're not going to overall think this guy's a good guy after all this, and you're not supposed to. And they're doing that right on this show.
Yeah, they soften his edges quite a bit in his relationship with his mom, but they also show you why he's not a good dude a lot. He is self-preservation over anything else. They always say, what makes a hero? We see in a lot of these movies, they sacrifice themselves to save other people. They make sure that they're doing the right thing and saving innocents and civilians. This guy would step on anyone's neck if it got him a little bit of family. And that's important because while you might have some sympathy for what he's going through with his mom, you don't have sympathy for what he's doing to other people. Like, he was so quick to kill that Maroney guy because it was the best way for him to get out of that situation. In the first episode, he blamed the kid. They got that kid killed. Didn't even think about it twice. He's not a good dude. And they have no qualms about showing him at his worst. And that's what you need.
Yep. And the Maronis were going to kill him after Ivaldi? Is that his name? The guy he killed in the basement? Ivaldi?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was even going to go along with his story and everything. He was like, oh, plans changed. Sorry. And when he saw the Maronis after that, they were just going to kill him right there. So, and he's I don't think he went into that thinking he would get out of it, so easily. But, he just showed him the like you said earlier, he showed him the photos and what the frame job. And he's got to be a highly intelligent person. And I don't know if we're going to see where he got that education or whatever, if he just picked it up along the road, just being involved with the mafia.
Well, I think he learned a lot, because remember when he was telling the kid the story, he said, he told me I was going to be his driver. I didn't know how to drive. Oh, well, what did you do?
Yeah.
I took the job.
Stole a car.
That's what you do. I stole a car, and I drove it until I drove it in the ditch, and I taught myself. That's what you got to do. He is talking. All of his know-how is all based on what he did for, from his first job as a driver to everything he's done in the mob. So, he learns. He takes note of everything going around him. The fact that he, at the beginning of this, if you remember, he went back to, the Don's little office he had in his club, because he knew where he stashed everything. So he got those diamonds. He got all of the dirt he had on everybody. Because, of course, knowledge is power, especially, evidence against other people. And, of course, he's, already using it to his advantage. He tried to give it to Luca at one point in this episode. And then when he was in trouble with the Maronis, he's like, hey, whoa, I got something in my pocket right here. I brought it over for you. Which we know is not true, but they don't. And he's so good at, pivoting that way. It's great. And I just want to say, what was her name? Nadia, who plays Sal's wife in this. She is a phenomenal actress. We didn't really see it in this. She wasn't in it much. But she was in The Expanse. And she is so good. And I absolutely love her voice. And yes, I did say the word.
Absolutely. Well, I saw when she was threatening him, not in the jail, but their second meeting, when she was threatening him, I wanted to shoot her. That's how good she is, you know? She evoked that emotion from me, and I'm trying to stay emotionless and stay out of the show without rooting for anybody. I think that's making it better, because just like, where is this going to go next? If I start rooting for him, then I think, well, he's got to work this out. He's got to make this right. He doesn't have to do any of that. he's not gonna.
No, he's not. And honestly, what's next is we're gonna start seeing him planning with Sophia on how to basically take control. And of course, she's not gonna know he's playing both sides. He can never let her know. She thinks that, her bodyguard that he framed in this episode is the one who's been working with the Maronis, when it's really Oz. He's never going to let that up, but I bet she starts to suspect it a little bit more. And she might be okay with saying, pretending she doesn't know. Like she finds out something, but she knows she can use that to her advantage too. Like if she needs to use the Maronis to kill Luca or some other high-ups so she can take power, she would have zero problems doing it. And that's really why her and Penguin are perfect allies in this, because they're going to both do whatever it takes to get the job done. And man,
Yeah.
it's going to be beautiful.
It's going to be, yeah, when they finally, I don't know if they're going to reach that goal by the end of the show. I mean, I guess they would have to. I keep thinking that maybe they'd have an extra season because it's so good. But when they get to the end, it's like Highlander rules. It'll be like there can be only one, and it's going to come down to a moment where one of them has to take the other one out, and I think we know where that's going to end up.
And it's going to be who strikes first. Like they're both going to be thinking it like, she's going to turn on me, but I need her for this. But
Yep.
when can I do it? When can I off her before she offs me? What's the perfect time? And it's going to be fun watching that play out because, can only assume we'll probably see them working together and doing a lot of good, and then it's going to be, nope, now it's time to kind of go against each other for, like you said, the Highlander, very good analogy. Who's going to be the one on top? Oh, man. I'm glad that it's weekly again, because when we saw that first episode on Thursday and had to wait till the next Sunday, it seemed like eternity. It was so nice when I got the kids to bed last night. It's like, okay, internet, don't fail me now. Let's turn on the Penguin.
Yeah. Jeez. Oh, and when you keep saying he's playing both sides, we both have said that. Every time you say that, in my head, I hear Sean Connery saying it. You're playing both sides. You remember that movie?
Oh yeah, playing both sides. Oh
Yeah.
man, and you watch it, it doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like it's been done a million times on TV before. It feels like a completely original story, everything going on. It just incredibly well done. I seriously, I could talk about this show all day and just sing its praises.
It doesn't have, to me, it doesn't have a TV show feel, but at the same time, it does, because they're chopping it up at the right spots. It's like, like the shows that they know how to write for HBO and for Showtime, like Game of Thrones, like Dexter. You make the show as long as it needs to be, the episode as long as it needs to be, and you include all the important points, and you get them across, and you don't rush it. And they're doing it better than 99% of shows out there.
Like the ending for this show was perfect. When they're standing there, like, we're going to work together and let's dance. And then I'm like, okay, what a way to end it. They're perfectly paced, perfect endings. I mean, they have I really do hope, they said that this season leads directly into the next Batman movie. But with how good it is, it'd be nice to be like, you know what? Maybe we got another story or two to tell before the Batman, because the Batman Part 2, while the script is done, they don't even start filming till 2025, so it's going to be a long time. And this movie, or this show I should say, doesn't have a lot of special effects. It's mostly just sit down and talk things through and go about things. Obviously there's some violence and things like that, but we're not seeing like car chases through Gotham and buildings blowing up and things of that nature. And they did say something, I don't know if you watched a little bit after the show, but they were talking about how the guns they got, they're not real guns, and it just like flashes. It's like a camera flash that they set up, so every time you pull the trigger, it does a camera flash, so everyone can see when it's being pulled. And I'm like, oh, that is so cool. And obviously probably much safer on set to do it that way than shooting off blanks and everything else.
Wonder why they didn't think of that before. But you're right, it's very ground level. They don't need a lot of special effects, and what they're doing, they're playing chess. And in most games, most shows play checkers. They go for the flashy action sequences that might not necessarily make any sense, but at least they're getting the explosions. And that's what I hate about Michael Bay movies, is that they're just all action, no substance. And this is the opposite. If there's going to be action, there's going to be a reason for it. If it's going to be some monster like building blowing up, I don't know, something like that, there's going to be a damn good reason for it. It's not just going to happen just because they think, well, this will get viewers. You know what I mean?
Well, and they've done nothing but build the characters up throughout all this. It's every scene is building towards something. Every every line of dialogue has meaning. It's not wasted in any way, and everything, like you said, it's building towards stuff. We're not going to all of a sudden just see Killer Croc pop out of a sewer grate and start attacking the city unless we see that being built up to, like in a lab or something, which that's not going to happen. But, just as an example, and it's just perfect. I can't wait until these sort of crime families realize what they're doing. Because right now, they're just foot soldiers. They're beneath them. But they're going to eventually catch on. You don't lead a crime family by being, ignorant of what is going on. So at some point, they're going to realize these guys are a threat. And it's probably going to be too late because, we can make assumptions that the Penguin is going to, end up on top at the end of the series. But I can't wait to see it because they're going to be like, we've underestimated him and he's got this in place. And he's got us battling the Maronis, and the Maronis battling us while he's gathering power elsewhere. Man.
Yeah, I'm glad it's that, when I was younger, I'm glad they changed the attitude or the atmosphere around the Penguin. They really changed it because when I was a kid reading comics and stuff, he was kind of a slapstick thing, and it was just like he was the Penguin. And it's just silly. And he's the Penguin. He's got some deformity, and he's just a silly villain. And I'm glad they changed that whole attitude around it. It made it so much better for me. It made it so deep, and we're seeing the depth of that with this show. And he's a lot more important. Like, he's not more important like than the Joker, but you look at and the way they did the Riddler in the Batman movie. They're making their villains more relatable. Is that the word I'm looking for?
Probably.
Where you can understand. Yeah, there might be a real person out there doing that, but Doug mentioned this in our chats this week about how they're so easily dropping the names. Like the bartender says, "Well, you don't like it, go ask the Riddler about that." They're just like dropping the names like it's nothing on the show, and it's not out of place.
Exactly. And they make the villains much like kind of Killmonger from the Black Panther. You may not, the way they're handling it is wrong, but they make a good point of why they're doing it. It's like, this is the problem. You shouldn't do it this way. Don't blow up all the sewer walls to flood the city and do all this just because, you have a problem. But they make it so the villains are sympathetic in a certain way, like, oh man, don't do it that way, but we understand why you're doing it. And it's been, Batman, went from, that camp 60s show, which I loved as a kid. I thought it was great, to, what we have now. And it's so, like you said, so much better now. It just makes such a better story to have, these kind of grounded more in our reality. Seeing it, basically a mafia show with the Penguin. It's phenomenal.
And you get to understand their motivations, and then in turn, Batman gets to understand the motivations for every character and why they would do things and how he can use them to solve other cases. Obviously, he knows the tendencies of the Joker. The Joker doesn't go for... Joker likes chaos. He doesn't necessarily have a big master plan. Sometimes he does, but most of the time he just wants to see the world burn. And then you got a completely different villain in the Penguin here. And then you got a completely different villain in the Riddler. And like I said, the way that they're putting it all ground level, it makes it so much better. I mean, like you said, they're like the Thanos type villain where you can understand what they're saying, but that line, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. They want to do something like the Kingpin even. They want to do something they think will make the city better or whatever they're doing better, and they don't care how they get there. And that's the problem. They don't care how they get there, but they want the same things like normal people do.
The Kingpin is a good, Vincent D'Onofrio's performance, that we got in Daredevil and we got in Echo. He cares about his city. He wants it to be better, but he is just a bad person. He'll do anything to get his way. The ends justify the means. And you see that in this show with the Penguin too. And it's going a long way. Instead of seeing Batman as some guy just beating the crap out of people, when he finally catches up with him and takes him down, you'll be like, thank God he's off the street almost. They make him so bad in a way that when he's finally taken off the board, you'll be happy.
Mm-hmm. Well, do we have a what's next? Do you have any thoughts on what's next?
For me, it's finding, what Sophia and the Penguin are planning next. He's still going to have that Maroni sort of family in his pocket, his interactions with them, and, figuring stuff out. And it'll be interesting to see how much he brings Sophia in on what he's already done. I don't think much, but he may, if he feels it's going to benefit them, and he may be setting her up by bringing her into kind of the Maroni side of everything. But he's always got that two sides going. He can be like, hey, guess what? The Falcons are planning a hit tonight. They're doing this. You'll be ready for him. And it'll take out them, and then they'll start to trust him more, and then he'll learn something from the Maronis and be, hey, guess what? They're coming here tonight to take that down. So be prepared. Then he's whittling them both down, and I just think he's going to be planning that all with Sophia. She's not going to leave to go to Italy. She's going to lie low and not let her family know she's there. And they are just going to cause chaos for both families until they can grab as much power as they can.
That's like a third side that he's playing with Sophia, I don't think he's going to be honest with anybody. Maybe at the most he'll be honest with Vic. Because he says things to Vic that, I wouldn't expect him to say, but like, if you want to come with me to the top, all we got is each other, and saying stuff like that. That's not something you'd expect him to hear him say, but it's really cool that he's saying it. You know what I mean?
Well, and Doug was talking about that. Go ahead.
No, I'm done.
I was just going to, Doug was talking about it last week, how he lies to everybody except for like Vic. He didn't lie to the Batman in the Batman movie and stuff. He has no problems, lying to these families because he knows they lie to him and everything else. But he is honest with certain people, and he's definitely honest with Vic. And that's almost the sort of grounding point for him. Like, he has this kid he's bringing up, and he's always going to be honest with him. He's always going to tell him how it is. It'll be interesting to see how much he tells him about Sophia, because I'm sure he's going to be like, hey, listen, I need you to go do this while Sophia and I are doing this. It's going to, cause whatever. It's going to bring these people out to our side a little bit. We're going to need that power later. And it's going to be wonderful to see. It's really hard to say what's next because...
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Watching it unfold is enough for me. It's like, and he knows exactly what to say, who to say it to, and when to say it. I mean, how long is... did they ever say, actually, at this point in the story, how long he's been with the Falcons?
I don't think so. They just say you've been with the family a long time, but they never give an actual year. And at some point we're going to see, obviously, Luca and Johnny and them start suspecting him, and it'll probably be a lot like Sophia. Sophia was, right away. They all just thought he was a BS artist. Hey, when we're moving the stuff to Robbinsville, oh, hey, no, that's wrong. We could do this. 70% of it was saved. It's like, nah, we're moving it. He's like, I got something else on the thing. And they're just all, okay, Oswald, good. But she knew what he was doing. And eventually someone else within the families is going to start realizing. I think it's probably going to be Nadia with the Salvatore people, Sal's wife, or Maroni. Sal's wife,
Maroney's.
Nadia, is going to be the first one to be like, yeah, he's sketchy. We can't trust the things he's saying. He always says what we want to hear, but things certainly go awry, especially after their man was killed when he was supposed to get him out. Much like he was telling Vic, you got a job, you got to get it done. He's obviously not getting the job done to their satisfaction. Obviously, it's what he needs. And I think that's going to be, we'll probably see Johnny from the Falcones be the first one to figure it out. And I think Luca is going to be oblivious to it. And that's going to be his huge downfall. And I think Sal's going to be a little blinded to it because of, his name's getting propped up again. The Maroney name is, being big in Gotham again. They got all the drops business. He's going to be a little blind to it too, but I think his wife is going to be the one that figures it out. And then unfortunately, that'll be her end.
I don't think you put Clancy Brown in that role. If he's not going to be also, I think they're both going to make it to the movie. I don't think either of those ladies that we mentioned are. Well, Sophia might, but I don't think she is. I don't think she'll make it through the end of the show, which is too bad because she's doing a fantastic job.
Both her and Colin Farrell deserve all the Emmys they can get next year because they're great. And she may just end up in Arkham again. They've been showing, she's still obviously suffering a little PTSD after her brother's death. We kind of saw that when she was with her shrink. And maybe she's not going to die at the end of this, but be incarcerated again. So she could come back.
That's what Batman's villains seem to do. They go to Arkham.
And then they break out and he fights them all again and puts them back.
Yep.
Eventually they're all out and they kind of interweave between their plans and eventually they're all back in Arkham and
that's what I like about like the Long Halloween, which Alberto Falcone was the villain. Oh, sorry, spoilers if you haven't read the graphic novel.
It's been out for like 20 years. If you haven't read it, we're sorry for spoiling it, but you should have read it by now. Come on.
No excuses. But with that story, they brought in all the Batman villains. Zaz, Calendar Man, they brought in everybody. And I love that when they do that with Batman. I think there's at least 3 Batman graphic novels where they do that. They bring in everybody and they go through them. And these villains help them to figure it out. And I don't know any other, what do they call it when you, a cadre of villains? Is that what they call them? Or nemesis? Like they were talking about it on Peacemaker. Like, you don't have a cadre of villains. Remember that scene?
Yes. When I was just going to say, too.
Yeah, Batman does, too. Yeah.
He should kill him.
They all help out.
He's a P word because he doesn't kill him and they just keep escaping and doing the same thing over again. Hey, don't talk about Batman that way.
That was a great scene. That was a great scene.
By the way,
but
what's his name? Oh, my God. The guy from Arrow. Why can't I think of his name?
Stephen Amell?
Yeah, Stephen Amell was so mad about Peacemaker making fun of Green Arrow.
Really?
Yeah, he was like, that's a bunch of BS. We put in a lot of hard work and stuff. It's like, dude, he's having some fun. Do you really not think that James Gunn would totally make a great Green Arrow movie or hire the right people to make a great Green Arrow movie? He's making fun of Batman, too. It's not like he's like... It's not
Peacemaker making fun of everybody.
Yeah, it's Peacemaker making fun of them.
Yes.
James Gunn loves all the characters in the DCU, mostly the weirder ones. But he does love the main villains too, the Trinity and stuff. So, yeah, it's going to be...
I mean, remember that scene where at the very end of the series where he's carrying the girl and he's like, yeah, F you too, Aquaman. As he walks by. Why don't you go do a fish?
Heifer, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, come on. It's just the show.
Yeah, and it's that character saying it. Good writers, it's not their words necessarily coming out of their mouths. It's the character's words that they write. And, of course, Peacemaker hates all these guys. He hates Aquaman. He hates Green Arrow. He hates, Batman. He probably hates Superman and, Green Lantern and everybody else. And that's what makes him, Peacemaker. He's kind of a crappy superhero. He's kind of a
He
villain that got
peace, and
forced.
he wants peace, and he doesn't care who he has to kill to get it.
That's like me. I would kill to get a Nobel Peace Prize. But hey, should we rate this now? We've kind of talked. Unless you have anything more, what's next or anything else you feel like you need to talk about, sir?
I don't. I can't predict the show, and that's what I like about it. I don't know where they're going next. I don't know the entire scope of the story, but I can't wait for that next step. And all the actors they got on the show. I guess I've already started my review. All the actors they have on the show are amazing. You gotta know. I gotta think that Clancy Brown's gonna have a bigger part in this universe. I don't know how many Batman movies they're gonna make, but I would think he would have to be in the next one. And the way they've changed the focus of Batman to, instead of the crazy villains like the Jim Carrey or Arnold Schwarzenegger, playing Dr. Freeze and chill out. The way they changed that, they have more focusing on the mob in the at least in the Christopher Nolan movies they focused on the mob, and now they are, and it seems to be a bigger focus, keeping him grounded. I think that's definitely the right thing. Whoever made that decision was a great decision. So with like these first two episodes, if it isn't obvious by the whole time we've been talking for the last hour, I'm going to rate it. I'm not going to give it a 10. I'm going to give it a 9.25 this episode. I loved it. It's been great.
Like we've said this whole series, the acting, the writing, the score, the sets, everything has been as good as I could have possibly imagined on a show like this. I mean, they have really done a good job. And, you can figure out sort of subtleties of what's going to happen. Like, we know Sophia and the Penguin are obviously going to work together, but we don't know what they're going to do or how they're going to handle situations, because they've written the characters so well that they're unguessable. They're a little bit crazy. We know the Penguin's going to visit his mom and do the right thing there, and Sophia, just wants to get control of her family because she feels like she should have been put in control instead of her uncle. But no phone looking while this show is on. I mean, I am dead to the world while I'm watching this show. I am just focused in like, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. Oh my God, I'm on the edge of my seat. This is nuts. And, I think I gave the first episode a 9, and I think I'm going to give this a 9.25555 repeating.
Because it's got to be higher than mine, huh?
It doesn't have to be. I just wanted to give it the repeating 5. Because it does everything so well. I can't find anything to even nitpick about it. In the first episode, Doug was kind of before, not on the actual stream, but was talking about how the kid's license was from Gotham City. And, cities don't give a license. But even that, so minor. It's hard to find anything like plot holes or anything else that's going on that we can, get upset about. It's like, most of the time, it's like, I enjoyed it, but there was this I thought could have done better. There's nothing on this when I watch it. I go, they really could have done that better by handling it this way. I'm like, dang, I can't believe I just watched that. So dang good. We are definitely in for a treat for the next 6 episodes. It's going to be sad when it's over. Knowing it's a limited series and it's one and done.
Yeah, that's the sad part. But, as far as the Gotham license goes, I just thought of something in my head. Do they really, it's like they don't want to say, all right, Gotham, they don't want to say New York, even though it's obviously supposed to be New York. But then Metropolis, I know that originally was supposed to be Toronto when the original wrote it. But it's so obvious that Metropolis is supposed to be New York as well. But if you watch Smallville, you got to hit the button.
It's hit.
Smallville has Metropolis is in Kansas because it's only 3 hours from Smallville. So, when they don't you would have. I would assume they would have a Metropolis driver's license too, just for this universe, so that they wouldn't have to explain where it is.
Yeah.
That's one thing I did like. One thing I did like about Marvel over DC is that they used actual places.
Yeah, no, you're right. That is, it's kind of, I like both sides of it. It's cool that Marvel has New York and like things like that because it's good to see, but it's also kind of cool to see that the DC world is like completely fictional. Gotham and Metropolis and Central City, all of that cool stuff. They both have their the nice things about it. Now it's funny because I don't know if you saw today, because of the success of the Penguin, David Zaslav, who is doing such a wonderful job of running WB into the ground, he's like, we need more Batman. Because of course, instead of being like, hey, this is perfect, let's keep this quality up and we're going to do good, it's like, we need more Batman right now. So, people were saying they think that Robert Pattinson might be the Batman for the DCU. And I think if he starts meddling in James Gunn's plan,
yeah,
he's going to push back and be like, that's not what I'm doing with this. That is something separate. That's amazing and awesome, but that's not what we're doing here.
Yeah, that's not built into this universe that I'm creating over here. Hopefully James Gunn has the final say.
I'm sure he does. He's got to, because that's what they brought him in for, to run all this. And I think people will start seeing, Zaslav, you've pretty much run this studio into the ground with your terrible decisions. And, our stock is at an all-time low. Let's trust this guy. Let's trust the writer to do the right thing. Instead of saying, something's doing well, let's do more of it right now. Because what's good about it isn't that they rushed it out. It's good because they got fantastic actors, excellent writing, and building towards something. Not just, we need more Batman right now. That would be terrible.
Right. That's a very Sony attitude. Yeah. Just put it out there. It doesn't matter if it's good, and it'll do well. That's not the truth. It's doing well because you took your time with it.
Yep. So hopefully that all straightens out. But should we find somebody to raid, sir?
Raid.
Raid. And for those of you on YouTube right now, raiding is something we do on Twitch, where we can have all of our viewers go over and watch somebody new, somebody we like. So if we're going to find somebody, obviously we won't be able to do that on YouTube, but thank you for coming out, watching us tonight. We will obviously be at the theater for our spoiler-free review of Joker Thursday night, but we will be back next Monday, a week from today. We'll be talking about Agatha episode 4 and The Penguin episode 3. So please come back if you watched and you liked. Do the YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe. It's free to you, and it helps our channel out immensely, so please do it. But let's find someone to raid.
Well, I got Flake of Wrath playing Escape from Tarkov. You only got one person watching.
Let's do it. Good friend.
Right on.
Excellent. So once again, thanks everybody. We will look out for our video Thursday night for Joker, and then we'll see you all back here in 1 week. Thanks everybody.
Good night.
Hey fellow nerds, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of this stuff, make sure that you check out our Twitch stream. We try to do these live Sunday or Monday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Keep an eye on our social media to find out when you can join in live and chat with us during these live streams. Also, as usual, don't forget to check out our other social media. Add us at Twitter, comment down below, and we'll see you next time right here on Not Your Status Quo.